Hey guys, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. How are you guys doing? Today is yet another Star Trek review and Easter eggs video. We're going to be talking about Star Trek Picard Season 1, Episode 8, Broken Pieces. I do apologize for the background noises. I know there's going to be a few in this video. This is because due to the COVID-19, the coronavirus kind of pandemic that's going on, everything is on lockdown. Every government is freaking out. The Canadian government has shut down schools and daycares, and so we have baby on the tube at home. Luckily, mom on the tube is around, which is, I suppose, grandma on the tube for baby. And so they're having fun in the living room. I apologize for any background noises. Anyway, let's get rolling. I've got one thing to say before we get into the review. This season will end with a two-part episode, so this is not two episodes with different titles. No, they have the same title, indicating to me that it's the same story but only separated into two parts for, broadcasting purposes, or it's a creative decision, whatever. That means I will be doing one video, judging the entirety of the story once it's fully released, just like I did for the Discovery Season 2 finale. So next week there won't be an episode 9 review video, but that's normal. The week after that I'll be doing an episode 9 and 10 review video, and then of course I'll be doing a season review once I've rewatched the entire season, etc., etc. Okay, so episode 8, what did we all think? Well, generally speaking, the episode was well received, with a lot of people happy to see 7 of 9 return and excited to see the story ramp up. Of course, yes, this is generally speaking, and that doesn't mean everyone loved the episode. I know there were a few out there that didn't, and I'm part of that few. My initial reaction was, in fact, quite negative. And as usual, I've calmed down. I tend to always be either too happy or too sad, and that's due to my emotional investment, I suppose. But as time passes, I always kind of level out and not be so extreme with my opinions. Though I will say this is still the episode I like the least from the entire season, and it is probably the only episode that I would actually outright consider bad. There were a few things I enjoyed. Of course, all of the performances were fantastic. All of them. I think everyone did a good job. Major shout out to Santiago Cabrera for his multiple holograms because they were spectacular. I also think that the directing was very good. We got slow camera movements that set the mood, artistic close-ups that added either context or backstory to the scene that was about to take place, and the visual effects were great as well. Maybe not so much with Seven's eyes, I don't know, but it was kind of like a dream nightmare effect going on there, so maybe that was done on purpose. But other than that, I love them. I think that the way the Borg cube regenerated was very interesting, and I thought that the alcoves activating was awesome. I love that. The opening sequence flying through the nebula, or the gaseous anomaly, that was beautiful as well. But it was really on a story level, on a narrative level, that I had trouble latching on. And yes, there's the overarching story in which I don't have much, confidence. As of now, an ancient civilization moving suns around in order to leave a message that robots are bad because they will bring forth the end of the universe seems more like a plot jacked from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. rather than Star Trek, not to mention it better fits the MCU than Star Trek in tone. But I won't comment too much on that because we haven't seen it yet, and actually I do have something to say, but I'll say it at the very end of the video. My issue comes mostly with how every singular element that made up this episode seemed to be kind of devoid of sense or logic, simply because that helped the episode set up the spectacle that then followed. For example, why did the leader of the Zhat Vash obligate her followers to latch onto this alien device if she already knew it would make most of them go mad or commit suicide? I mean, this isn't a Dr. Girardi situation where she needed convincing. These followers were already clearly indoctrinated or brainwashed, convinced, however you want to put it. They were part of the Zhat Vash already. They were trusting, believing in their leader, so much so that they traveled light years across the galaxy to this alien world where they were all prepared to die for their cause. What is the logic in killing these followers? Or risking their lives, even? Well, like showing them the truth? I mean, they believed their leader already, very much so. The truth would have not, convinced them more. The only point of this was to look cool. Sadly, it's the style over substance issue. And so was seeing all of the holograms together in one room. Granted, I enjoyed that scene, but it was still a spectacle for the purpose of spectacle. Nothing justified that scene's existence. Raffi could have spoken to Rios straight away without this whole process. Not to mention she learns nothing from the holograms and ultimately learns everything from Rios himself. Also, come on, Raffi can't recognize the real Rios from his holographic doppelgangers. They don't have the same haircuts, the same clothes, the same accents, the same demeanors. I mean, come on. And at no point has Rios ever sat down in the helm's chair. He's always in the captain's chair. There was no reason for her to confuse them. Why did Raffi become stupid in that moment? And then 7, it's the same thing. She arrives at the Borg cube, the artifact, the Romulan reclamation site, and evades all security. But that's alright. That's fine. I can get behind that. She's a Fenris Ranger. I'm assuming Fenris Rangers know their way around, security protocols, and they know how to get by that kind of stuff. But she knows how to work the cube. This technologically and aesthetically changed Borg cube, she just knows how to work it. She hasn't been on a Borg cube for 25 years. She hasn't seen any of the upgrades to the software, to the hardware, and yet she just knows how to work it. She knows exactly what to do and how to do it. And of course, knowing what to do involves becoming a Borg queen for a minute. Look, I know the Borg are a confusing concept, to say the least, and they have grown and changed as a species over the years within the lore of Star Trek, but everything she did on that cube seemed completely lacking in logic and credibility. To me, I know a lot of people will find with this, but to me it felt a bit far-fetched. It felt just a bit, I don't know. It felt a bit like magic. It didn't feel very Borgish. And again, it was all about the spectacle. Her eyes went black. Ooh, that was so cool. Her eyes went black. Yeah. The Picard and Soji moment was nice. I had never really thought of Data loving Picard. Geordi, yes, because they were best friends. Picard, I don't know. I've actually thought of Data loving Tasha Yar a few times, but anyway, I guess it was all up to interpretation, and this show has made it very clear that Picard and Data were very close, so there you go, that's the story, you gotta roll with it. The conversation between Soji and Picard was nice. It was well directed, it was calm, it was one of the moments that I appreciated the most, and yeah, the dialogue was good. Unlike you're a waste of space. Shut the fuck up, Picard. What the hell is that? You're a waste of space. Shut the fuck up. It sounds like a fan fiction coming of age novel written by a teenager. It's terrible. It's sad. I also didn't like that the Rios backstory was somehow connected to the Daj and Soji plot with this Jana that looks exactly like them. Out of all of the freelance captains Picard could have hired, he got the one dude that story ties into all of this, of course, right? I mean, it's I hate that it wraps itself up into this little bow all so well. The funny thing is, I actually do appreciate Rios's backstory, and I find it. I find the suicide of the captain that he looked up to as a father figure, to be very interesting, and I think that adds a lot of layers to Rios himself, and I think that tying that in to Marta was a good idea. We'll talk about that in the Easter egg section. It's just, why did it have to be related to the androids and synthetics things again, right? Like this is, it's too intertwined and too perfect. The galaxy is too big for everything to be connected like this. Anyway, on one hand, this episode pushed aside logic in order to set up small wow moments that ultimately felt empty. And on the other, it spent time setting up the big finale to the overall arc of the season, which has been the thing I've been the least interested in week to week. So yeah, I guess this episode just wasn't my cup of tea. As I said, there were a few character moments that I did enjoy. I did enjoy Picard and Rios talking. I enjoyed Picard and Soji talking. But other than that, not a beacon of light for me. Alright. that's it. Let's move right on to the Easter eggs and references. There's a lot to talk about, and let's go. Let's start with everything relating to Rios. One of his emergency holograms is an emergency engineering hologram, and that engineering hologram is Scottish, or at the very least has a Scottish accent. This is clearly a reference to the classic Scotty from the original series. The emergency hospitality hologram claims he's forgotten the right temperature for Uridian tea. The Uridians are these interesting looking people first introduced in The Next Generation and later used quite often in Deep Space Nine. We've seen them mainly as information dealers, traders, however you want to put it. The emergency navigation hologram mentions Medusan astrogation techniques at one point. The Medusans are a non-corporeal species featured in the original series. When locked in his quarters, we get a good look at what's going on in there. Rios is reading plenty of books. They all have pretty much the same theme. One of these books is the teachings of Surak. Surak himself being the Vulcan considered to be the father of Vulcan logic. Later on, Rios opens up a Starfleet case in which we can see a uniform and pips. Enough pips to make up every rank from ensign to commander. We also get a glimpse at the design of his old ship, the Ibn Majid. It looks like a Sovereign class, which is the same class as the Enterprise E. Though I may be mistaken, I'm not the best when it comes to ships. Rios is listening to music, and it's a song by Billie Holiday, which is a song that was also featured in Enterprise. Tying back to what I said earlier, we get a mention of Marta Batanides, which is an old classmate of Picard. We got to see her in one very special episode of The Next Generation. It is fun to hear about these kind of one-appearance characters and how they had these great careers. I love to know what happens to these people. Anyway, to finish off with Rios, at one point, he says the nearest starbase is Deep Space 12. Though I'm pretty sure it was a reference to Deep Space Nine. I mean, the station at the center of the action of the show Deep Space Nine. And I say this due to the way that Cabrera delivers the line. He leaves that little suspense. Keep in mind, deep space stations have been around ever since the original series. Moving away from Rios, Dr. Jurati. We learned that her tracker was Viridium. This is the same type or technology, however you want to put it, that we've already seen being used in the undiscovered country. We also get to see a Borg transwarp conduit. We learn about these for the first time in Voyager, and it's true, they have plenty, and they are just lying around everywhere, and there you go. That's about it for the Easter eggs. Maybe less than usual, actually. I do have 3 more things to mention, though they are probably not Easter eggs or references specifically. Rafi, for one. She mentions Dr. Sung and how he started pumping out androids 30 to 40 years ago, which by my count seems way off, since it's already been 30 years since the end of The Next Generation, and Data was, he was around for years before The Next Generation even picked up, so maybe she just got her dates mixed up. Anyway, the second thing I wanted to mention is these glimpses of the possible future, the possible destruction of the universe, and how synthetic life forms, artificial intelligence are the demise of all things. It reminds me so much of the Control arc that we just got in Discovery Season 2, and all I can say about this is, look, I don't know if I necessarily want to call back to that. So, yeah. Finally, the Takan Empire. Yeah, that is the leading theory. The leading theory about who could have moved these 8 stars and set them up in this elaborate warning so many years ago is the Takan Empire. The only reason why I'm mentioning this, and I take no credit for thinking of this, is all the internet speculation. The main reason why I'm mentioning this is because it does seem to make a lot of sense. If you want to know what I'm talking about, check out the Next Generation episode, Season 1, Episode 5, The Last Outpost. It is, in my opinion, not a very good episode. But the fact that they would go so deep cut is kind of cool to me. I like the idea that the writers of Picard didn't just invent or create this all-new, all-powerful thing just, because. I like the fact that they went back and tried to build on something Star Trek had already, kind of touched on instead. I think that's commendable. Okay, and there you go. You can hear Baby on the tube, screaming, doing whatever it is that she's doing in the background. I'm sorry if this review wasn't necessarily to your liking. I kind of realized halfway through the video, I think the framing's a little off. I don't know. This is not the most professional of videos. I do apologize. Look, I'm doing better. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're practicing the social distancing thing. I hope that you're staying safe. Remember to like, subscribe, share with your friends. You can become a patron for this channel if you so desire. Thank you so much to all of my current patrons and all of the new patrons as well. The ever-growing list is fantastic. I love you all. Stay safe. Stay clean, and live long and prosper.